Hello and welcome to 3UL Steve, and today we will be motorising points. Okay, so we're looking at a servo sketch from Arduino software, and this sketch was actually made by a guy who does another YouTube channel called Frontington and Backwards Railway. And so he's very helpfully included this sketch plus various other links in the description on his video of how to set all this up. And I highly recommend that you watch these videos because basically tells you how to get to this point where we are at the moment. I will leave a link in the description. So quickly looking at the top of the let's go back to the top. We can see the directories that you need to include in the software to actually make it work. So you've got a servo driver, a button which is for the switches, some other Arduino software to actually make the program work, and at the bottom you've got a thing called easing, and this is to do with creating bounce on the signals so that they don't just move up and down, they have a nice bounce to them. So they look realistic. Now, if we look at this array of servos, I've already connected two servos up and I've changed some of these values. But the one we're interested in at the moment is in position 4. So if you look down the list, you've got servo 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's one that we're going to be working on in a minute. So looking across from 4, you can see a set of figures, and they refer to different parts of different elements of controlling the servo motor. So the first number is the actual position of the servo on the servo motor on the servo board, and then the second position refers to the position of the button or switch. And the two values that we're going to change are these two big numbers, which dictate the range of the servo arm. So obviously for each set of points, the range is going to be different. It's going to be set at a different point on where the servo arm attaches to the actual top of the servo. So it's quite important that you get that correct. Otherwise, if it's too big, you're just going to stress the motor out. It will just reach the end of its travel and still keep pushing and make a fairly annoying buzzing noise as well, which we really don't want. So those are the figures that we're going to first of all change. So we'll get round to that in a minute. The next one of the other things we need to do is to actually, because I've got the points already connected to the servo motors with some little pieces of wire, is to actually remove the servo arm. So when we start setting this up, we can actually position the servo arm in the middle position. That's obviously very important. So that's one thing we need to do. At the moment, I've got two servos actually directly connected to the board and already calibrated. All the other buttons I've actually connected spare servos to, so when I press the button I can see what they actually do. So looking at the bottom of this board, we just move a camera across a minute, so we'll look at the thing on the left hand side. This is the Arduino Nano, which is like a little mini computer that controls it all, and it's in a green expansion board, so we can actually connect all the switches to it. And I'm pointing at a servo board, and this is where all the servos are attached to, and these are the switches at the top, and those are the this is the what I just pointed is the actual point we're working on. So if we actually just go through all these point motors, you can see that one bounces slightly, so we don't really want that one. So I think that one's on position 2, because it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So we'll have a look at the next one. I'm going to press that one again. Again, there's a little bit of a bounce on it, so we don't want to use that one for a point. So we're on to the fifth button, which, like I said, is position 4. So hopefully, if we look at this one, it should just move and not bounce. So let's have a little look. So yeah, so it's just moving nicely. and not bouncing. You can see the movement on that is quite big, so we need to change that on the board. So going back to the sketch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change the range figures nearer to the ones that I've got in the first two set of points that I've already calibrated. So I'm just going to do that a second. Just going to type in some new values. And once we've done that, just working out which numbers to actually type into it. So I'm just going to copy the numbers above, I think, or close to. So you can see I'm just typing different numbers in now. So the actual above the sketch, it does actually show you the actual range of movement that is programmed into this, and obviously your figures have to be inside that range of movement. But I'm trying to put my figures fairly close together so the actual little servo arm doesn't move that much. So we're just going to go to the upload button in a minute. If you look on top of the sketch, you'll see two buttons, and it's one I'm clicking now, and that will actually upload it to the Arduino, which is currently connected to this laptop using a USB cable. So just download that a minute. You can see all the code coming up at the bottom, and then what you don't want to see is anything in red lettering, because it means it's not going to work. But that looks absolutely fine, so it should work, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Yes, have a look. Find button 5 again. Let's see, so it's not, yeah, it's that one. Just have a look at that servo motor again, which is a little bit out of shot at the moment. Should see it in a second, I hope. There it is. So if we touch that, press that one again. So number 5. And you can see it moves a lot less now because I've closed the figures together. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So yeah, so I'm going to go back to the laptop and maybe change it a little bit more, make it a little bit wider than that, because that's hardly moving at all, really. So I'm just going to increase one of the figures. Oops, a bit of bad typing there. Get that sorted out in a minute. So I just make that a bit bigger. So the range is quite a bit bigger now. So I'm just going to upload that again. So I'm just clicking that so you can see the actual the upload happening at the bottom of the screen. So let's look at the motor again. It should move a little bit more, I'm hoping. So this time, so when we click the button, should just that one. Ooh, I'll have to put some labels on these so I know which button does what. But I will be doing that. I'll be printing off a little strip that goes at the top, so it'll be easy to operate. Because once I've got it fully going, I'll have about 10 points and 3 signals, and also maybe a set of level crossing gates working off of this. So yeah, so as you can see, it did move a little bit more than it did before. So the next thing to do is disconnect that servo, disconnect the servo arm from the actual point we're working on. So I'm just going to carefully take that off. Going to be a bit gentle because I don't want to damage the motor or the actual bit of copper metal that I've got connecting it, which I think it looks a little bit bent out of shape, but I think it'll bend back okay. And then we've got to find the actual correct. I've wired them all up, so all I've got to do is find the end of the wire. of the cable and plug it into my servo board, replace the one that's already plugged in there. So just move my camera a little bit, if you can see. So the first thing that I need to do is actually find which one it is. So I just count across 5, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's position 4, but the 5th one along. So it's that one. So that's easy. They seem to be split up in batches of 4 anyway, so that's easy to work out. And then what I need to do next is actually disconnect my Arduino, because I don't want it on while I'm doing this, because you could short circuit it or damage it in some kind of way. So I'm just going to ease that servo motor out and get rid of it for a minute. And then I'm going to find the end of the other one and squeeze it in. It's a bit fiddly and it's quite difficult to see, especially there. It takes a little while to wiggle it on, but it's worth just taking care with it, because you can obviously damage or bend the pins on the servo board, which would make fitting it basically impossible because you can't get them straight again. So I'm just slowly trying to actually wiggle it in. It takes a bit of patience. So I think we're nearly there. Oh, where's it going to go? It can literally be, model railways can be quite frustrating. Anyway, it's in. So we'll plug in the Arduino again. So it's now linked back to the computer. It's got power. Flip it over. And now hopefully, all being well, we have a set of points that work or do something. They probably won't work perfectly because we haven't really set them up yet, but they should actually move when you flick the switch. Let's have a little look again. There we go, got a bit of movement there. That's very nice. So all it is now is a question of changing testing how tight it is and changing those figures on the screen until you've got it so the point blades just move across to where you want them to be, but the motor doesn't make, because the motor buzzes when it's working. You don't want it actually carrying on working. Oh, this is good. I've unplugged it from the laptop. Now this special plug, which you can set to different voltages, so I've got it set to 5 volts, will not only accept the power that I've got going to the servo board. So you've got 2 power supplies. You've got one to the servo board, but you obviously need one to the Arduino as well. Obviously everything is now downloaded on it, and I've got it as I want it now. I've set the whole thing up by, as I said, changing the values. So you can see position 2 point move in there quite nicely. So it comes across again. And also, more crucially, it moves quite slowly. Now, remember saying about the figures on the sketch? Basically, the bigger the figure on that last figure, which controls the speed, the slower the servo arm will move. So I've got set to 100 at the moment. It seems to be a very good speed, which is what the guy from Frontington and Backwards Railway set it up as. Yeah, you can see this other point working as well. I see the blades move nice and slowly. Now, if your point was a little bit sticky, you could actually up the speed a bit by changing the value to a lower figure, so it zips across a bit more, or if you want to change the points quickly. But I kind of like them like this because they look nice and realistic and slow, a bit like me. So yeah, so that is good. It all seems to be working nicely now. So the next thing to do is maybe run some coaches through it, like that one, just to see if it actually works and the coaches don't derail. The blades are closing properly. Now this is a very old Hornby Jubilo coach. It's probably from like the 1950s, and it's not. I haven't oiled it or done anything to it. As I received it, it's in reasonably rubbish condition, really, but still a charming thing in its own right, made out of tin plate with quite sort of rough wheels at the bottom. but even that seems to run through them quite nicely. So I've got the blades working backwards and forwards, as you can see. I've actually at this point have all my points connected, so there are 4 points on this section that I'm working on at the moment. Obviously, the lever arms are slightly level or slightly above the level of the track, but the motors are below the level of the track. So when we add scenery, we can kind of disguise this. Although I would quite like to see the levers actually moving because they look rather nice. You can see the bottom of this again. You can see all the bits working on it, the lights and things. So yeah, that's all pretty good. So I'm fairly happy with that, and I haven't actually decided where this panel's going to go, but at the moment it sits quite nicely in this space on the side of the railway. It doesn't really get in the way, so for now that's where it's going to live. So my next, what I'll be doing next is actually connecting the power up to my controller. I've got a very old-fashioned twin duet controller. I'm just going to need to find a means of actually wiring. I'll probably just use some dropper wires to some plugs, and then I can just use or some sockets, I should say, on this board, and I'll just use some plugs to actually plug across the controller, so I don't have it permanently connected. So if I need to move it, I can just disconnect it all easily. And obviously, I've got other sections of or modules to actually connect to this one to make the complete model of Wormley railway station. And yeah, so that's basically it. So as you can see, I've got just a temporary setup to see if the actual locomotives will run on my track, and they seem to run absolutely fine, so I'm very happy with that. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.